Samsung, proud sponsor of Tech Busters.
Jared Cohen is the geek's geek. You have the best title in the world, the director of Google Ideas at Google, but you think broadly about the effects of digital technology on the world. And there's some really profound examples of how digital is changing the way we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think to me it's a very simple formula. You have 5 billion people connecting to the internet in the next decade. Most of them live in environments that are heavily censored, unstable, violent, and corrupt. Their experience on the internet is going to look very different from the 2.4 billion people who are already online. But also, it presents a whole new slew of opportunities to troubleshoot some of these challenges that had seemingly been intractable in previous decades.
And one of the examples you've used at the My World of Tomorrow conference is about Syria, where access to social media allows people to organize and to get to events. But just as tragically, activists are stopped at roadblocks, have a gun put to their head, and they have to sign in to Facebook or Twitter so that the regimes can get access. It's a double sword in terms of freedom of information.
We will never see a physical civil war unfold again in our world without it having a cyber dimension as well. And yet the cyber dimension is the part that we understand the least. I was talking to a Syrian activist friend of mine who was in the chemical weapons attack in August of 2013. And he said one of the biggest problems that a lot of young activists had in Syria is they didn't know which platforms were more secure and which ones were less secure. So I asked him, I said, how did you resolve that problem? He said, we literally had to ask for volunteers to go on Skype, to go on Facebook, to go on all these different platforms and deliberately say provocative things to see who got arrested, who got detained, and who was undetected. And he said from basically having all these digital martyrs, they were able to determine what platforms they should be having their communications on. And this is sort of unimaginable to us who we use these products on a day-to-day basis in a democracy like South Africa or a democracy like the United States, and there's a whole bunch of steps that have to happen in between a decision to want to use a product and the decision to use it that unfold in all these different countries.
Amazing, and the example you gave of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is starting to play a greater role, isn't it?
Well, I just learned actually that Bitcoin is thriving in Cuba. So you asked why is Bitcoin thriving in Cuba? I'm told, this is all anecdotal, that because of the US embargo, it's one of the most effective ways for people to be able to transfer currency. And I think with cryptocurrency, it's important to distinguish between unregulated cryptocurrency and regulated cryptocurrency. I'm very pro cryptocurrency in a regulated context, but we have to sort of accept the inevitability that there's going to be dark networks out there that benefit tremendously from having unregulated currencies. And so the question is, how do you contain that? And how do you contain it without negating the benefits that regulated cryptocurrency can offer in an already existing financial system where cybersecurity is only becoming more important?
Indeed, and when you spoke at South by Southwest earlier this year, one of the things you said really resonated with me, and it's the idea of digital permanence, that people have no awareness of what their lives will be like in 10 years. Teenage girls with drunken pictures of themselves. There's a real impact on that I don't think our culture's really got to understand yet.
Well, the book that maybe one day I'll write is the way the technology changes parenting. I don't have the life experience yet, but if you think about it, kids are coming online younger and faster than at any other time in history. So what that means is kids will do and say things online that far outpace their physical maturity. Now my conclusion for this is parents are going to have to talk to their kids about data permanence probably 3 or 4 years before they ever have the first conversation about what sex is.
Exactly.
It's going to be relevant literally years before. And I don't say that to be cute or funny. I actually believe that to be the case.
I've seen it with my goddaughters. I mean, there's a real sea change happening in the world as it is. But it's not all doom and gloom, is it? I mean, there's profound things that we can do with the digital world we live in, especially the services that Google provides.
So you get a lot of people who are overly optimistic about the internet, and that's great, right? I fundamentally believe that the internet is a net positive, but I have a pragmatic approach to this. I come from a foreign policy world, I come from a geopolitical world, so I understand that the world is ridden with a range of challenges. I believe very much that in order to preserve this notion of the internet as a net benefit, we need to spend some time making a case for optimism. And part of making the case for optimism is being pragmatic and honest about what some of the world's challenges are and how technology may complicate them. What we're up against is you get a lot of governments around the world, you get a lot of commentators around the world who, because they don't necessarily have a good answer to why is this problem happening, why is that problem happening, you run the risk of technology becoming the scapegoat, or technology becoming the lightning rod. And this has been the case for a while. I remember people used to tell me that the problem with the internet in the Middle East is, people get arrested for blogging. And I would say, wait a minute, nobody gets arrested for blogging in the Middle East. People get arrested because they say things that reflect them speaking their minds in countries that don't allow for free expression.
Exactly.
The blogs are a tool through which they're doing it, but they're not why they're getting arrested. And it's the same thing with every other challenge in the world. Technology is a tool, and to blame the tool is really to deflect attention away from the root cause of a lot of the world's problems.
I have to agree with you. The riots in London before the 2012 Olympics, people blamed BlackBerry, and I said, people have been rioting and looting since the pitchfork days. It's human nature that expresses itself through technology, just faster, quicker, and globally.
Yep, absolutely.
The Nigerian 419 scam is related to the postcode, not the internet code. And my last question, although it probably won't make much sense to you, but apparently the internet is so easy to use that even Aki Anastasio, my co-host, could use it. Is that true?
I'm going to say yes, only because since I haven't met your co-host,
yes.
I'm going to be overly complimentary.
Jared Cohen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.